This video is brought to you with support from my patrons on Patreon. Hey everybody, it's Jimmy from the DIY and Digital, and today we're seeing if this little $20 camera can actually do some good cab rides on your model railroad. Welcome back everybody. Today we are taking a look at a little $20 camera that is small enough to fit on almost any model railroad. Now, I've been looking for about the past 6 months to try and figure out a camera that I could put as in a cab ride sort of position on my model railroad. Now, I'm an N-scaler, so a lot of you that are saying, well, why don't you choose a GoPro? Most of the GoPros that are out there, actually all of the GoPros that are out there, are too large for N-scale, and they will get hung up on scenery or they will cause derailments. So I really had to look at a different class of camera, and the bottom line is there's no straightforward solution. So I decided to see what the cheapest option out there was and see if it was any good. So I found this little $20 camera on Amazon. I picked one up and we're going to take a look at it and we're going to see what it can do. So this camera is called an SQ11, and it's one of those cameras that can come from several different companies, so you might find them from several different places on Amazon. Here are the video stats for the camera. The camera does record both in 1920 by 1080 and 1280 by 720 HD at only 30 frames per second. You don't have an option to change that format. The file that it exports out as a video file is a .avi file, and it's going to be a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. This will work with Windows, Mac, and Linux. I will tell you that I did have some issues with Windows 10's basic player for when you double click a file, so you may want to consider downloading something like VLC Player to play back these files. And your working time with the battery is going to be about 60 minutes. It does take a micro SD card, and the largest SD card you can use with this is a 32 gigabyte card. Now, one thing that is important to understand is that even though it says 1080p HD, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get good quality. That all depends on the sensor and the lens combination. To temper your expectations, don't expect anything close to cinema quality in video or audio from a sub $20 camera. But when I tested the video, it didn't look totally horrendous. It is plagued with the issues of most cheap cameras. The colors are off, there is pixelation, and of course the jitteriness, because there's absolutely no stabilization whatsoever with this. But you can't really expect image stabilization at the $20 price point. For this test, I took the shell off of one of my inexpensive boxcars and I placed the camera in the middle. I did initially try it at the front at first, but it caused derailments, as well as the angle was not that great for recording, especially in turns. I started recording and off we go. You can see that the image is not terrible, but you can see the minimum focal distance of this camera is causing most things that are up close to be blurry. This is a problem that's going to plague most cameras when you're trying to shoot in N-scale. For the price though, it's definitely adequate, but there is one thing. This ugly date and timestamp at the bottom. Now luckily they made a way to remove this. You're going to connect the SD card to your computer, and when you open it up, you're going to see a text file. And at the end of the text file, you're going to see some numbers and a Y or an N. If it is a Y, you're going to want to change it to N. This will disable that timestamp. Now we can place it back on the car and see what it looks like. Here is the raw footage. I'm shooting this at 720 HD. This seems to tax the small sensor less than the full 1080 HD, which leads to a slightly better image. The two big issues that I see are the instability and the depth of field. This camera does not have any stabilization, as I said before, which is totally understandable for a $20 camera, and it can also not shoot up super close because of its minimum focal distance, which is the closest an object can be from the camera for it to focus on it. The stabilization can be partially resolved by adding some counterweights to the car that it is riding on. All right, so there is that little $20 camera. It's not terrible, but actually it's pretty good for $20 if I'm being completely honest. I mean, you can't really expect too much at that price point, but it does give you enough. You just gotta work with it and finagle with it and understand that you're only paying $20. You're not gonna get cinematic quality out of it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that. I wanna say a big thank you to all of my patrons. They are listed right here. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see more of this camera work. I am a professional videographer and I know quite a few professional photographers, so I can bring some tips and tricks into photographing and doing video on your model railroad as well on this channel. So let me know if you want to see that in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, and happy railroading.